e-publishing, marketing, and strategy. In ancient times, a single sheet of papyrus took many hours to produce. Later, when animal skins, mainly sheepskins, were used to make vellum, a single folio, one book or pamphlet of a manuscript, could consume an entire herd of sheep. By the 1500s, Johannes Gutenberg's brilliant innovations in printing were demonstrated in the 6 presses that he manufactured, requiring 100,000 cast type parts and 24 typesetters to operate. Hundreds of years later, in the 1990s, the U.S. Library of Congress moved from print media to digital. As this new wave of media unfolded in the 1960s, psychologist J.C.R. Licklider, in his book Man-Computer Symbiosis, wrote, "The hope is that in not too many years, human brains and computing machines will be coupled together very tightly, and that the resulting partnership will think as no human brain has ever thought." The intersection of taxpayer-funded, government-owned product that was allowed to transfer and diffuse to private industry has since burgeoned into billion-plus dollar industries and a pricey, inevitable commodity that U.S. citizens pay for out of pocket every month. Those who are able to generate profit from technological innovations are often not their inventors. Ibis World Business Journal reports that jobs are being created by the e-publishing industry, but jobs and wages are decreasing as new software emerges. Inspired by the great work of Johannes Gutenberg, Michael Hart created the first e-books in the 1970s. Can e-books really be free? Although digital formatted books can be a free download, the devices required to read them are not free. Nor are the externalities, the hidden costs of the growing numbers of electronic devices that end up in waste dumps all over the world. Hart was surely aware that it would take the large-scale diffusion of digital devices to make them accessible and popular. Some interesting history. Back in 1746, a French monk, Jean-Antoine Nollet, created an experiment that demonstrated the first electronic transmission of data on record. Under his direction, 200 monks, spaced side by side over miles distance, each holding 25-foot iron bars, participated in this historic event. Nollet shocked the first monk and was amazed to learn that the last monk felt the shock simultaneously. Without experiments like these throughout history, we wouldn't have ebooks today. Rights and licensing are important. Martin Luther made printed materials central to the advancement of the Reformation movement. He comments in his writing, however, on the unfortunate side effect of printing presses, the opportunity for others to steal his work, as noted in the following quote from him dated 1526. He says, "I started work on a manuscript, and then some rogue steps in, a compositor who lives off the sweat of our brow, steals my manuscript before I have finished it, takes it away, and has printed it somewhere else, ignoring our expenditure and our labor." Currently, one of the bigger innovations in publishing today comes from open source publishing and Creative Commons licensing. This is what they do. E-publishing is largely unregulated now, but promises to be more regulated in the future as some of the titans of industry, Apple and Amazon, hash out laws and rights in the courts, as well as content providers, the artists and writers who are creating the work. Having recently uploaded my own book onto Amazon.com and had my own direct experience with e-publishing, these statements make me laugh because it's not easy and it's not fast. The devil's in the details, as they say. But the manual for Kindle, that is a free download from Amazon, and also the lynda.com course taught by Jason Matthews in e-publishing, both are very good references and filled with information and give you a more realistic idea of what's really involved in self-publishing. Publishing industries have been faced with the need to rapidly create more content available on digital ebooks to entice readers to buy them. This has led to a surge of not only well-known authors converting print books to ebooks, but a bigger wave of self-published authors loading books directly on sites like Amazon, Smashwords, Kobo, and Hachette. The costs and the benefits involved in self-publishing need serious evaluation. If you're going to self-publish and you want a good product at the end, you need to be tech savvy and you need to be very patient with the process. A few things to keep in mind. Whether you're self-publishing or not, diving into social media is pretty much required now for authors. The idea of using social media and websites organically, like planting seeds to grow something, is a useful metaphor for this process. As Jason Matthews says, there are whole courses devoted to this use of branding the author, the book, and the subject using websites and blogs. Here are a few ideas. Socrates said of the invention of books, quote, "For this invention will produce forgetfulness in the minds of those who learn to use it, because they will not practice their memory. Their trust in writing, produced by external characters, which are no part of themselves, will discourage the use of their own memory within them." If that's what Socrates thought about books, I wonder what he would think about ebooks now. Especially as the writers, educators, artists, musicians, the creators of work are just considered content providers now legally. It's immensely important that authors, content providers, start getting more real information on, on earnings from their work. And somewhat surprising that Kobo, iBook, Kindle refuse to disclose sales numbers, and that self-published ebooks are not added to current growth. And also that the New York Times never does reviews on ebooks. A largely unregulated industry, as e-publishing is, that's constantly in flux, doesn't promise trustworthy employment, especially with the constant threat of replacing people with the newest software whenever possible. The author of Masters of the Word, William Bernstein, says of our modern era of technologies, quote, "The likely evanescence of our own era's historical corpus, recorded on pitifully short-lived paper, magnetic media, and optical media, is profoundly humbling and worrisome," unquote. Only time and words will tell.